What if I told you that your 60s could be the beginning, not the end, of your best years? Imagine celebrating your 100th birthday while actively engaged in work you love, traveling the world, and sharing wisdom with younger generations. This isn't fantasy, it was reality for Dr. Akira Tanaka, one of Japan's most revered physicians who practiced medicine until the remarkable age of 105. At 101, he flew to New York to deliver a lecture. When asked how he felt at 100, he simply smiled and said, "Like I'm in my 70s." Meanwhile, here in America, we've created a different story about aging. The average American retires at 62, often viewing later years as a gradual decline. We've accepted the myth that aging inevitably means deterioration and diminished capacity. Dr. Tanaka's life proves this narrative wrong. One of his simplest secrets was adding a special ingredient to his breakfast every day, something modern research confirms has remarkable benefits for heart and brain health. Today, I'll share his 7 interconnected principles for vibrant longevity: purposeful movement with mindful nutrition, meaningful engagement, finding your reason for being, positivity and stress management, medical minimalism, community contribution, and lifelong learning. This isn't a random collection of tips. It's a holistic system where each element strengthens the others. If you're ready to reimagine what your later years could be, hit that subscribe button now. And share in the comments one belief about aging you're ready to challenge. I read every comment and would love to hear your perspective. Principle 1: Purposeful Movement and Mindful Nutrition. Your body gets used to how you treat it. Keep it moving, and it will stay in motion, Dr. Tanaka often said. He incorporated movement naturally throughout his day, taking stairs instead of elevators, walking to appointments, and standing while working for short periods. The contrast with typical American seniors is striking. The average American over 65 spends about 9.4 hours sitting daily, more than any other age group. This sedentary lifestyle contributes significantly to what we mistakenly call age-related decline. Dr. Tanaka's nutritional approach was equally important. His daily diet was remarkably simple. For breakfast, coffee, milk, and orange juice with a tablespoon of olive oil, which he credited for arterial and skin health. Lunch was often milk and a few biscuits. Dinner consisted of vegetables, small portions of fish, and rice, with lean meat twice weekly. Central to his approach was hara hachibu, eating until you're 80% full. This Okinawan principle prevents overeating and reduces pressure on your body. While Americans often eat until completely full, stopping at 80% satisfaction reduces caloric intake without feeling deprived. Start implementing this principle with 3 10-minute walking sessions daily instead of one longer workout. Use household activities like gardening or cleaning as opportunities for movement. For nutrition, adapt Mediterranean diet principles to your American palate and practice the 80% rule by leaving a small amount of food on your plate at each meal. Take inspiration from Martha, an 85-year-old Florida resident who began taking daily 15-minute beach walks and practicing hara hachibu after her diabetes diagnosis. Within 6 months, her blood sugar normalized, she lost 18 pounds, and her doctor reduced her medications. "I feel better now than I did at 75, she says. While movement and nutrition build a strong physical foundation, Dr. Tanaka understood that a healthy body needs to be guided by a purposeful mind. This leads us to his second principle. Principle 2: Meaningful engagement. The worst thing you can do is retire from purpose, Dr. Tanaka remarked, when asked about his continued medical practice beyond age 100. While conventional American wisdom often glorifies complete retirement, Dr. Tanaka maintained an active medical practice into his 90s and redirected his energy to teaching and writing in his hundreds. A landmark Harvard study found that seniors with strong purpose and continued engagement had 43% lower mortality rates than those who retired without clear direction. They also experienced significantly lower rates of Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline. Dr. Tanaka's insight wasn't that we should never retire, it's that we should retire from what we must do to what we love to do. For Americans in their 60s and beyond, this could mean part-time consulting, volunteering aligned with your values, mentoring younger generations, or pursuing creative activities. Consider Robert, a 72-year-old former accountant who initially struggled with the formlessness of retirement. Everything changed when he began teaching financial literacy at a local community center. 5 years later, his program has helped over 500 people, and Robert reports better mental health than during his working years. "I'm not just passing time anymore," he says. "I'm passing on knowledge that changes lives." Finding meaningful work naturally leads us to discover something even deeper, a fundamental reason for being that the Japanese have a special name for. Principle 3. Ikigai. Your reason for being. While meaningful engagement keeps you active, true longevity requires something deeper, what the Japanese call Ikigai. Ikigai, or your reason for living, is the intersection of 4 simple elements: what you love doing, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what can bring rewards, spiritual or material. In other words, it's the purpose that makes you eager to get out of bed each morning. Dr. Tanaka's Ikigai was healing and educating others. When researchers studied Okinawan centenarians, they discovered all could clearly articulate their Ikigai, even if it was as simple as caring for my great-grandchildren or tending my garden. The science is compelling. Mayo Clinic research found that adults with a strong sense of purpose had a 15% lower risk of death and 29% reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease compared to those feeling aimless. For American seniors transitioning from career-defined identity to a new chapter, start by reflecting on what activities make you lose track of time. What skills have people consistently complimented you on? What needs do you see in your community? What contributions would make you feel satisfied? Margaret, a 68-year-old retired teacher, found her Ikigai by creating a community garden that allowed her to continue teaching through gardening. Children learn science, patience, and nutrition. "We donate extra produce to the local food bank," she explains. "This is my Ikigai. It combines my love of teaching, my skill with children, the community's need for fresh food, and the reward of seeing growth." When we have a strong sense of purpose like Margaret, it naturally affects how we face life's challenges, which brings us to Dr. Tanaka's 4th principle. Principle 4. Positivity and stress management. The mind and body are inseparable, Dr. Tanaka reminded his patients. Despite witnessing immense suffering throughout his career, including surviving World War II, he maintained an extraordinarily positive outlook that he credited as essential to his longevity. His approach wasn't about toxic positivity or denying difficulties. It focused on cultivating resilience, finding joy in small moments, and consciously managing stress through music appreciation, creative expression, and letting go of grudges. The scientific evidence is compelling. A Yale University study found that adults with positive perceptions of aging lived an average of 7.5 years longer than those with negative views. This held true even when controlling for actual health status. For American seniors navigating aging in a youth-obsessed culture, start with a 3-minute morning gratitude practice focused specifically on aspects of aging you appreciate. Explore laughter as medicine through senior comedy workshops. Incorporate nature exposure as stress reduction. Most importantly, develop forgiveness practices. Dr. Tanaka believed harboring resentment was drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. James, a 73-year-old Vietnam veteran, transformed decades of PTSD, hypertension, and chronic inflammation through forgiveness meditation. Forgiveness didn't change the past, he reflects. It changed my relationship with the past, and that changed everything about my present and future. The first 4 principles of Dr. Tanaka have given us a solid foundation for physical and mental health. If you're finding these ideas valuable, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next 3 principles, especially the 5th principle about approaching modern healthcare wisely. Principle 5. Medical minimalism. Despite being a physician himself, Dr. Tanaka maintained healthy skepticism about excessive medical interventions. Medicine should support life, not become life itself, he often told patients. He practiced thoughtful restraint in healthcare, questioning the necessity of many procedures and emphasizing that many conditions respond better to lifestyle modifications than pharmaceutical solutions. This wasn't about rejecting modern medicine, but using it judiciously. The contrast with American healthcare is stark. The average American senior takes 5 to 7 prescription medications daily, often prescribed by different specialists who rarely coordinate care. A Johns Hopkins study found that nearly 40% of seniors experience adverse drug interactions, many of which are treated with additional medications, creating a problematic cascade. For American seniors navigating our complex healthcare system, develop the habit of asking 5 essential questions before accepting any new treatment. What are we trying to accomplish? What is the evidence it will help someone like me? What are the potential harms? What happens if we try a less intensive approach first? How will this interact with my current medications? Schedule an annual medication review with a pharmacist and focus on preventive approaches that reduce the need for interventions. Consider Eleanor, a 77-year-old retired nurse who reduced her medications from 12 to 3 by working with a geriatrician specializing in deprescribing and improving her lifestyle habits. My lab values are better now than when I was on all those medications, she reports. As we take more ownership of our health, many of us discover a desire to contribute to something larger than ourselves. Principle 6. Community contribution. To live long, you must have a reason to live, Dr. Tanaka said, and there is no better reason than being needed by others. He maintained an unwavering commitment to service well past his 100th birthday. The science strongly supports this perspective. A University of Michigan study found seniors who volunteered at least 200 hours annually were 40% more likely to be alive at the study's conclusion than non-volunteers. Carnegie Mellon research demonstrated that regular volunteering lowered blood pressure by approximately 40%, similar to many hypertension medications but without side effects. The Blue Zones research, studying regions with the highest concentrations of centenarians worldwide, consistently identifies community contribution as a common factor across all longevity hotspots. For American seniors, consider age-appropriate volunteer opportunities that match your physical capabilities through organizations like AARP's Create the Good. Leverage your professional expertise through skills-based volunteering. If mobility is limited, explore virtual volunteering options that have expanded dramatically since the pandemic. In our free guide, you'll find a list of senior-friendly volunteer organizations across America, categorized by physical ability and interests. Richard, a 70-year-old retired executive, discovered a mentoring program for teenagers from disadvantaged backgrounds after finding his blood pressure rising despite increased medication during early retirement. 3 years later, he mentors 4 teenagers and coordinates the program for his region. His blood pressure has normalized to the point where his physician reduced his medication. These kids saved my life as much as I may have helped them, he reflects. Community contribution keeps us socially engaged, but Dr. Tanaka knew that keeping our minds sharp requires continuous growth and learning. Principle 7. Lifelong learning. When you stop learning, you start dying, Dr. Tanaka declared at his 100th birthday celebration, right before announcing he was beginning to study a new surgical technique. Well into his hundreds, he maintained an impressive learning regimen, writing books, delivering lectures, and studying new developments in medicine. Scientists at Rush University Medical Center discovered something fascinating. Seniors who regularly learn new things reduce their Alzheimer's risk by nearly half. This happens because when we learn something new, our brains create new connections, like building alternative routes when main roads are blocked. What's particularly noteworthy is that it's never too late to start. Study participants who began new learning activities in their 70s and 80s showed significant cognitive benefits, challenging the notion that cognitive decline is inevitable. For American seniors, explore free online courses specifically designed for seniors through platforms like Coursera and Senior Planet. Take advantage of community college programs with senior discounts. Most importantly, challenge yourself to learn something completely new rather than just deepening existing knowledge. Harold, a 75-year-old retired engineer, enrolled in a coding class after his wife passed away, and he noticed his memory declining. 6 months later, he created a simple app, a digital memory game featuring family photos that connected him with his grandchildren. Learning to code was the hardest thing I've done in decades, Harold admits. But that's precisely why it was valuable. I can feel my brain working differently now. These 7 principles form Dr. Tanaka's complete philosophy for vibrant longevity, a holistic approach where each element strengthens the others. As we've explored Dr. Tanaka's 7 principles for living vibrantly beyond 100, one thing becomes abundantly clear. These aren't isolated tips, but a cohesive philosophy where each element strengthens the others. Think of these principles as 7 pillars supporting a long, fulfilling life. What makes Dr. Tanaka's approach so valuable is its accessibility. No expensive equipment or radical lifestyle changes required. To begin, choose one principle that resonates most strongly with you and focus on it for 2 weeks. When that habit becomes natural, add another. Remember, this isn't a race, it's a lifelong journey. Which principle speaks to you most? I'd love to know in the comments which aspect you plan to implement first. If this approach to longevity resonates with you, please subscribe for weekly wisdom on aging vibrantly. Remember, it's never too late to begin. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, your best years may still lie ahead.